let's move on very quickly, see if we can get at least one more area in before we run out of time. A couple of cases here, we can deal with this fairly quickly. Right to counsel, okay, under the Sixth Amendment, you'll recall. One of the most important early cases came in 1964. Here's another one of those 1960 cases. Escobedo versus Illinois. This case involved a man by the name of Danny Escobedo. I think if I'm remembering correctly, his first name was Danny, who was being interrogated by police for many hours. And over the course of that interrogation, he repeatedly asked for his attorney. And he was denied access to his attorney by the police until he confessed. Ultimately, he brought his will to resist broke down. I'm imagining like teams of detectives coming in over many hours, maybe several days. Tag team detectives, kind of like the first team comes in, they work on him, and the second team comes in, they work on him, etc. Right? Eventually, his resolve to stand firm to see his attorney breaks down, and he confesses. And on the basis of that confession, and by the way, solely on the basis of that confession, he was convicted of the crime. I think it was I don't even want to guess now. It's kind of, I've forgotten what the charges were. It doesn't matter. He was convicted. He appeals his conviction on the grounds that he was denied his Sixth Amendment right. The Supreme Court agrees that the police have to allow a suspect to have an attorney present, or they have to be allowed to consult with their attorney. Okay? This next case is actually a year before, Gideon versus Wainwright. It's actually a very famous case. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Do any of you like cinema?
Cinnamon.
Who likes cinema?
Oh, yeah.
Not cinnamon, cinema. Movies,
yeah.
films. Yeah. Do you like films from the golden age of Hollywood?
What is considered the golden age?
Classic films.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's not what I consider. I think it's what the
Are you talking about 60s?
film critics consider. What?
What year?
This I think was a black and white movie. Anybody ever seen the movie Gideon's Trumpet? Won an Academy. You've seen it.
Yes.
Oh, and whoever's online, who's online? Is that a meme?
You know what I mean.
Yes.
Hey, tell us, Christopher, what it's about. How long ago did you see it? I don't want to.
In high school.
Okay. Oh, they still have students watch this film in high
In
school.
my government class, we were learning about this case, and then after we were done learning about it, we watched the movie.
Did you enjoy the film?
I don't really remember much about it.
How about you, Amin?
I don't remember much. It was from high school, but it was a pretty good movie.
Okay, yeah, it won an Academy Award. Starring Henry Fonda. I don't know if that is an actor that registers with you guys, but too old, I guess. Father of Jane Fonda. I don't know if that's too old. Yep. At any rate, forget the Hollywood version. There's a reason that Hollywood made a film out of this story, right? Because it's very interesting, okay? This case involved a man by the name of Clarence Gideon, who was a petty criminal, okay? I think his gig was breaking into pool halls and stealing the change out of vending machines, cigarette machines. You know, in those days they sold machines from cigarettes. I don't think they can do that anymore. I think that was part of the settlement with the tobacco companies back in the 1990s. But, you know, I'm old enough to remember when you could go to a grocery store and out in front of the grocery store, there would be vending machines that sold cigarettes. You guys have never seen those in your life. But they would get a lot of change that would accumulate them, and that was his gig. He would bust into the pool halls at night after they closed, and he would steal the money out of the vending machines. Well, he was ultimately caught and arrested, put on trial, and convicted. And he asked, this occurred in the state of Florida, He asked prosecutors in the state of Florida to provide him with a defense attorney, and they declined, arguing that that was only something that was provided in death penalty cases. That was the policy in the state of Florida. And so he's convicted. He doesn't have an attorney there with him to represent him at trial or in pretrial or anything like that. He prepares his own defense, and he is convicted. He's sent to prison. Now, the interesting twist to his story is that he wrote his own appeal from his prison cell, sent that off to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court agreed to hear his case. And in 1963, they reverse his conviction, holding that the state of Florida has to provide a defense counsel. If the defendant cannot pay for the defense attorney himself or herself, the state has to do it. Okay, so that's the significance of this case. I don't think it surprises anyone here. Nobody's learning for the first time that if a defendant can't afford to pay for, in fact, they even say that in the Miranda warnings, right? If you cannot afford an attorney, the state will provide one for you, right? Okay, so that comes from the Gideon case. All right, so those are the two big cases that apply to right to counsel, but there are a few other cases that the court has decided along the way dealing with the right to counsel. I'm going to end on this one here because we've only got about 30 seconds. This case, Minnick versus Mississippi, 1990 case. The state of Mississippi essentially took the position that they only had to allow, to be compliant with the court's decision in Escobedo, that they only had to allow the defendant to consult with his attorney once, okay? And if they wanted to question the defendant after that, they were free to do so. And that's what happened in this case. The police interrogated the defendant on numerous occasions after he had initially seen his attorney, and on the basis of information that they got, obtained a conviction. The conviction was reversed, and the Supreme Court of the United States held that the right of the defendant to have an attorney present during an interrogation holds until, once they invoke it, it holds until they waive it, which had not happened in this case.